welcome to another episode of In a Week. I'm your host Salim. Today we're going to do a book review on this book called The Narrow Road to the Deep North and Other Travel Sketches by Matsuo Basho. So now let's get into the book review.
Matsuo Basho was born in 1644 in Iga province of Japan. His family was of samurai descent, and his father was probably a musokunin, which is a class of land-owning peasants granted certain privileges of a samurai. In his late teens, Basho became a servant to Todo Yoshitada, most likely in some humble capacity. He shared Yoshitada's love for Taikai no Renga, which is a form of collaborative poetry composition. Basho was uncertain whether to become a full-time poet. By his own account, he said that alternatives battled in my mind and made my life restless. His indecision may have been influenced by his still relatively low status of his poetry, which was more likely a social activity for him than a serious artistic undertaking. In the spring of 1672, he moved to Edo, which is today's Tokyo, to study poetry professionally. Despite his success as a poet in Edo, Basho grew dissatisfied and lonely. He began to practice Zen meditation, but it seems to not have calmed his mind. In the winter of 1682, his hut burned down, and shortly afterwards, in early 1683, his mother also passed away. In the winter of 1683, his disciples gave him a second hut in Edo, but his spirits did not improve. In 1684, later that year, he left Edo on the first of his 4 major wanderings in Japan. Basho traveled alone off the beaten path on the 5 routes of Edo, which in medieval Japan were regarded as immensely dangerous. At first, Basho expected to simply die in the middle of nowhere or be killed by bandits. However, as his trip progressed, his mood improved, and he became comfortable on the road. Basho met many friends and grew to enjoy the changing scenery and the seasons on his journey. His poems took on a less introspective and more striking tone as he observed the world around him. He had very little to no money when he traveled. He relied entirely on the hospitality of temples and fellow poets. In his writings, he was strongly influenced by the Zen sect of Buddhism. The contents of this book covers 5 of his journeys, namely the records of a weather-exposed skeleton, a visit to the Kashima Shrine, the records of a travel-worn satchel, a visit to Sarashina village, and finally the narrow road to the deep north. Basho's journey, described in The Narrow Road to the Deep North, started on May 16, 1689, when he left Edo with his student and apprentice Kawai Sora on a journey to the northern provinces of Honshu.
Basho and Sora headed north to Hiraizumi. Then they walked to the western side of the island, touring Kisakata, and began hiking back at a leisurely pace along the coastline.
During this 150-day journey, Basho traveled a total of 2,400 kilometers through the northeastern areas of Honshu and returning to Edo in late 1691. By the time Basho reached Ogaki, he had completed the log of his journey. He edited and redacted it for 3 years, writing the final version in 1694 as The Narrow Road to the Interior. The first edition was published posthumously in 1702. It was an immediate commercial success, and many poets followed the path of his journey.
These journeys gave Basho peace and satisfaction that he always craved in his life.
In the Edo period, Basho was a backpacker. In his old age, he accomplished his ultimate satisfaction with life, which he shared with the people of his time and the future in the form of a diary and a poetry. In Basho's own words in his diary, The Records of a Travel-Worn Satchel, he said, "From time immemorial, the art of keeping diaries while on the road was popular among the people. The readers will find in my diary a random collection of what I have seen on the road, views somehow remaining in my heart, an isolated house in the mountains, or a lonely inn surrounded by the moor. I jotted down these records with the hope that they might provoke pleasant conversations among my readers, and that they might be of some use to those who would travel the same way. If you like the content, please subscribe, like the video, and comment below. Help the channel grow. Thank you for watching in a week.